Okay, so it's very nice to see you all. And I am, looking forward to see what happens, what comes out of my mouth. I don't know exactly what's going to kind of come out of my mouth, even though I've thought about it. But I thought I'd start with, as I was meditating, I was just remembering going to the Buddhist center for the first time when I was 17. And I think I had spent a few years, probably from when I was 14, 15, I was already sort of disillusioned with the world, sort of with the ways of the world. There was something wasn't quite right about most people I knew sort of interacted with each other. Growing up, I saw a lot of fighting, lots of people sort of fighting one another. And I knew that wasn't right. I knew there was something deeply wrong about fighting each other and resenting each other and hating each other. I just knew it was wrong, and I think we all know is wrong. So there was this violence going on. Also becoming increasingly aware of the news as a teenager, kind of things happening around the world. Always there's something going on in one country or another. Grief, hunger, hate, natural disasters. So it can all be very depressing, and I did start getting a bit depressed actually as a teenager, just like kind of looking at the news and just like what's wrong with the world? And then so there was my immediate circle, like within my family, like my parents would have arguments and I knew there was something wasn't quite right. Then there was kind of the community, kind of the village I grew up in, kind of violence, and there was the world. And all these different dimensions, I could just see, I could see there was something missing, and I didn't know what it was. But I knew I wanted to find out what it was. I knew there was a way out of this kind of going around in circles, hating one another, being jealous of each other, etc. All of those burning sort of feelings and emotions that we all get. I wanted to find out what it was. Yeah, and I saw there were all these levels of pain. I saw there was like people being ill. I saw people like in physical pain and also mental pain, kind of madness. There's lots of madness in the world, and depression and psychosis and all of that. And I thought I want to do something about this suffering. I want to do something about it. And I thought maybe I'll become a doctor. Maybe I'll become a psychologist. But I sensed there was something deeper. I sensed there was something sort of deeper going on. It wasn't just about curing the sick, mentally ill, or the physically ill. I thought that's very important. We definitely need to be doing that. We need to be helping one another in that way. But there is something deeper than that. And the Buddha, before he was the Buddha, he saw something similar to that. And he said something like, fear is born from arming oneself. Just see how many people fight. I will tell you about the dreadful fear that caused me to shake all over. Seeing creatures flopping around like fish in waters too shallow, so hostile to one another. Seeing this, I became afraid. So this is all a bit, oh dear. What a terrible sort of world we live in. And in some ways, it's quite terrible. Actually quite terrible. But that's not it. That's not the end of the story. I decided to kind of look for something. I decided to look for something deeper, sort of deeper answers. And when I was 17, I went along to the Buddhist center. And what I encountered was the Bodhisattva ideal. Bodhisattva meaning somebody, a being who wants to reach their fullest potential as a human being, wants to reach awakening or enlightenment, not just for his own sake, but for the benefit of everyone. Yeah? And it's called the Bodhisattva ideal because somebody who wants to be enlightened, you can't really be enlightened on your own in a way. This is the Bodhisattva ideal is about helping all living beings to be enlightened as well. So you can see it's an ideal in terms of is a big undertaking. It's not something that we can just do in one evening. And at the same time, is being an ideal is not like an impossible thing. Is what else are we going to do with our lives, sort of thing. So what else is there to do but help one another develop the deepest qualities in ourselves. So what I encountered at the Buddhist Center was this ideal. People talking about developing the human qualities of love and compassion and helping each other to do that, helping each other to develop. And I just found that really inspiring, really, really inspiring. And there was this quest. I heard about the Buddha talking about this quest for kind of finding the root of all suffering in the world, which wasn't about becoming. He saw we all kind of grow old and get sick and die at some point. So that's sort of given. There's nothing we can do about that. It's kind of futile to trying to keep being young or kind of escape death. It's just impossible. So that's a given. But the problem is, we don't always see that that's a given. Yeah? So, this talk is about wisdom, but before we get to talk about wisdom, we need to talk about ignorance. Because wisdom is wisdom as opposite to ignorance, if you see what I mean. It's like, we need to understand where we are right now to be able to move to where we want to go. So we may have all sorts of ideas about wisdom. Maybe an image of, I don't know, a wise person. What's the name of that Lord of the Ring man? Yeah. Gandalf. Yeah. Maybe him comes to mind. He's quite wise, isn't he? So yeah, we can have all these ideas about wisdom. And I think when we bring to mind wise people, generally speaking, we get a sense of kind of groundedness, get a sense of a bit like a mountain, a bit like they understand what life is about and they are not blown away by it. A bit like a mountain. A mountain just stands there and watches things going on, and it just stands there, yeah, unshakable. It is also impermanent, but anyway, this poetic image is kind of unshakable. There's a sense of groundedness. Yeah. But so ignorance. What is ignorance? In the Buddhist tradition, we use the word avidya. Avidya, which means is so often translated as ignorance, but it's the opposite to understanding. So not understanding how things really are causes suffering. Yeah, and it's very difficult to see our ignorance. Actually, it's very, very difficult to see what we don't see. Does that make sense? Because we don't see it, so it's difficult to see it. But I think we can really feel it. We can really feel our ignorance. So ignorance is a strong word, actually, but it's just a lack of understanding of how things are, how things sort of work. And because we don't understand, sometimes when you come in a situation, just to give you a very simple example, you come into the Buddhist center and you don't quite understand how it works. So it's just really awkward, isn't it? Coming through the door and there's all these people talking to each other, and you don't quite understand whether are they friends? Everyone, are they all friends? And am I just sort of crashing into a party? I haven't been invited, or which room should I go to, where are the toilets, all of that stuff that you get when you go into a place for the first time. There's that sort of basic lack of understanding. You don't quite sort of know where things are and how things function. And there's a kind of a basic level of just being uncomfortable. So it goes from that, but it goes really, really, really deep to not understanding the nature of reality. And we encounter this uncomfortableness and this suffering whenever things don't go the way we want them to go. Yeah. So you can think of your own examples, but you're really excited about seeing a friend and they don't turn up. Disaster, kind of disappointment, betrayal, all of that stuff. This can sound very dramatic, but we do get into things like that, in our hearts secretly. Yeah. The boss doesn't turn up. We're not on time. Again, we get disappointed. We get angry with the bus driver. We get angry with the system. We get angry with everyone, and then we get irritable and all of that. Yeah. So there is a very kind of it's very tangible. You lose your keys, then you get irritated. Yeah. You blame yourself. And so a very good test to our ignorance is whether we're blaming ourselves or other people. As a good sign of ignorance is just to check whether you're blaming. I'll say a bit more about that. So when you, it's just not the way things are. In some ways, when you lose your keys, in some ways unless somebody actually took them and sort of took them somewhere hidden, even then you wouldn't say. It's just a whole range of it's kind of their fault, but it's not. And what would be the point of blaming them? Anyway, this is not a very helpful example. Go back. Whenever you start blaming other people emotionally, so there's these basic practical ways of you took my keys and you can deal at that level. But then there's something deeper going on. There's a deeper sort of that deeper sort of holding on tight. These are my keys, so this is my something, and you took it away from me. Whatever it is, you were my girlfriend, and I loved you, but now you don't love me anymore. You're taking away from me this bit of my heart. Whatever it is, yeah, you can think of all sorts of examples. Whenever there is a sort of contraction, whenever there's a sense of you are mine, this is me, this is mine, there is the sign of ignorance. And why is it a sign of ignorance? Why is it a lack of understanding? It's because it's not the way things are. Things are really, really complex, and they have all sorts of conditions, and we can't really blame any one thing. We can't really say this is mine and this is me, because when you look at your experience, when you look at yourself, what is yours? What is yourself? When you actually sit down and look for yourself, where is it? Where are you? What can you have? What things can you actually get hold of? I still don't know. And this is what the Buddha tried to kind of point out again and again and again. He tried to sort of make his disciples turn their minds towards the fact that everything is changing. Yeah, everything is constantly changing. And therefore, there's nothing that can be yours. You can't have stuff. You can't accumulate stuff. You can sort of try, but at the end, you're going to die. And none of that is going to be taken with you. Yeah, so the basic sort of lack of understanding, we want to be, understandably, we want to be happy, and we try to get satisfaction from having our house tidy and under control, having relationships, and it's all okay, it's all kind of healthy and sort of necessary. But on a deeper level, we don't quite understand that actually all of those things cannot give us everlasting satisfaction, because they are lacking in essence, they are lacking in a lasting entity. They are futile, they are passing like clouds, they are like running water in a river, they are like a bubble. Our bodies themselves, they are like a bubble that at some point will pop. That's not the end of the talk. So the Buddha said, turn your minds towards those facts of life. Yeah. Turn your minds towards the fact that everything is impermanent. Your body, your family, your car, your iPad, your iPhone, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, everyone. Everything is impermanent. And when you look deeply into the impermanence of all things, you start developing a deeper sense of life, I guess. You're not so blown away by it. When you really understand things do change, when you take that to heart, you can appreciate them more like a sunset. Yeah, you don't get upset when, do you? You don't get upset when the sun is sort of fading and then you get this beautiful light, and then it finishes, or the lights fade away. I think it's more you don't get upset then, do you? Like you're just like, wow, that's beautiful. You know you can't get hold of it. Flowers grow in the fields. I went on a 4-month retreat 3 years ago to get ordained, and it was just fantastic because when I got there, everything was really dry, and then the rain came, and then all these flowers started to pop up. And I've been doing loads of meditation by that point, and I could just see very clearly all those beautiful, beautiful flowers, and I knew there was no way I could get hold of them, and all I could do was appreciate them. So the word for ignorance is avidya. The word for understanding is vidya. Vidya is often translated, there's a really great translation of vidya, which goes something like is an aesthetic appreciation. Yeah. Analytical aesthetic appreciation, which means that you are able to see things as they really are. You're able to see the impermanence of things, the insubstantiality of things, and the beauty, the deep, deep beauty of every given moment that arises in your consciousness. Everything you become aware of is a bit like a sunset. Yeah? You just understand. You can't grasp it. You can't get hold of it. Yeah. So the way to move towards wisdom is to keep turning your mind, keep turning your senses, to notice how everything is singing the song of impermanence, singing the song of change, and how beautiful that song is. Because we tend to resist it, we want to resist change, and we sort of feel it's an ugly song. But the ugliness of it is our resistance, is our sort of grasping onto things, is our sense of this is me and this is mine. That is really very ugly. When you start opening onto it, when you start looking that actually this is painful, this contracting is painful, and they're actually quite ugly. Is there anything else underneath it? Is there anything that is a bit more satisfying? Can I get an understanding of things unfolding all the time? And you start opening up, yeah. You start moving towards wisdom, and there are 5 aspects. I won't talk about the 5 aspects, but there are 5 aspects to an enlightened mind, an awakened mind. So a Buddha is somebody who has awakened to reality. He has awakened, seeing things. He sees how things are. He or she sees things as they really are. And what happens when you see things as they really are is your mind just is free of any tensions and conflicts. And what happens when your mind is free from tensions and conflicts is that these wonderful qualities develop. And so you have a clear understanding of life's true nature. Then you have an abundance of energy. You have an abundance of creativity. Yeah, you see you see the kind of how everything shares the same reality. We all share the same reality. Yeah. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but we all share the same reality. We are all changing, and we are all heading for death. And also, we have an incredible potential. We share that kind of basic reality. But also, we are unique. Yeah. So there's the wisdom that sees the equality of things, and sometimes in sort of new agey things, you get that very much emphasized, that we are all one, and kind of we are a family, and we hold hands together. That is not the whole story. That's not the whole story. It's part of the story. We're deeply connected with each other, and whatever we do has an effect on the atmosphere, on the literal atmosphere of the planet, and the metaphorical atmosphere of this room. Yeah. So we're deeply connected. We share a reality, and at the same time we are completely different. We are just really unique. Yeah. So Buddha sees the uniqueness of all of us. Yeah. And you get these Buddhas represented with different colors and different qualities. Because each one of us, when we unfold our full potential, when we become Buddhas, it doesn't mean that we're going to all look like that. We're going to turn into a wooden statue. We're actually going to be very much ourselves. To use that, it's not quite satisfying. You're going to be very much yourself, yeah, with your unique Buddha qualities, and you're going to kind of serve. Your Buddha qualities will serve the world. Will help other beings to reach their potential and kind of unfold their Buddha qualities. And the other aspect is spontaneous, compassionate activity. When you see reality as it really is, your actions are naturally compassionate. Your actions are naturally kind of they're moving towards other beings, because you see there's no separation between you and the cow, between you and Lucy, between you and Chris, and there's. You understand that every action has consequences on your mind and on other living beings. So you understand that acting from love, acting from compassion, that's the natural way of acting when you see things as they really are. Yeah. So there's the kind of the all-performing wisdom. You're able to perform and to respond to situations in a very spontaneous way with energy. Yeah. So that's the kind of, I've given you a rough sort of very rough picture of what ignorance looks like. We are very familiar with it. You need to keep turning your minds towards it. And then what wisdom looks a little bit like, yeah, what understanding looks like. But I just want to finish with some practical points. How do we move from lack of understanding to understanding? And in some ways, what we're doing in this series of talks over the next few months is exploring that path from moving from ignorance to awakening, to wisdom. Yeah. But some things that I have noticed that really have affected my life were meditation, getting to know myself. So, just like good practical points, meditate every day for 5 minutes. That's one thing that you can do. And then if you can do 10, that's great. And notice how your mind gets distracted, and notice where your mind goes. Yeah? Start getting to know your mind, start getting to know the patterns of your mind, start getting to know your habits, the habits of your mind, and what happens in your body. Yeah? Start getting more intimate with yourself. That's number one. Yeah? Start getting to know yourself. And to really get to know yourself also needs to be in relationship to other people. So befriend like-minded people, befriend people who are actually trying to get to know themselves too, consciously, and are trying to make an effort to develop. And this is a great place to do it. I've been really benefiting from being reflected back by my friends. Yeah, I can have all these ideas about how great I am or how bad I am, and then I communicate those to my friends, and what I get is, bit rubbish sometimes. Oh yeah, you're great sometimes. I get an affirmation or a kind of or a better reflection of where I'm actually at. Yeah. So meditate, befriend people, and be honest. Share your ignorance with people, because that's the only way that you're gonna overcome it. Yeah. Share your how upset you are. Share your kind of anger. Share your whatever is going on. You gotta share it with other people and feel the kind of feel how silly it is when you share it. Meditate, befriend, simplify your life. That's another one. And look for a deeper beauty. When you start getting to know yourself, and you start understanding that things can't really give you everlasting satisfaction, you gotta find beauty and satisfaction somewhere deeper. And I have found that the more I move towards a simple life, the more space there is in my life to actually appreciate the deeper beauty of things, the deeper beauty of my life. And so something very practical you can do is clear your room. Just get rid of all that stuff that you got in your room. Just give it away. And just feel giving is one of the greatest things. And next week we're going to be talking about giving. But giving is just a really good way to move towards wisdom, actually. Kind of just give. It's not about giving up, really. It's just kind of you realize I actually don't need this thing. Kind of just give stuff away. Keep giving stuff away, and keep that which gives you joy. Keep that which you actually use. That which gives you inspiration. And ask yourself, what inspires me? What makes me feel alive? What makes me feel on the edge of life? What makes me feel like actually I don't understand life? What sort of stuff that you do takes you to the edge of your understanding and sort of challenges you and inspires you and makes you feel more alive, and to do a bit more of that. Yeah. And lastly, look for an altruistic project and give yourself to it. That's what I've done with my life, and I've been doing it for 8 years, and I can't see myself going back. My life is not my life. My life is other people's life. My life is to serve a greater goal. Yeah, my life is, I can develop myself. I can only develop myself through helping others develop. And I can help others develop through really helping myself as well. So kind of Ratnagoshi was talking about that kind of, you cannot really help yourself without helping others. You cannot really help others without helping yourself. And wisdom comes back to that deep understanding that we are not separated, and we must unite. We must work together to help one another to grow and develop. Our lives are not our lives. Our lives are the lives of everyone in a way. So if you give your life to an altruistic project, again you start moving towards that ego-centered. You start moving away from that contracted, egoistic sense and way of living towards a much more expansive way of living, just much more creative. Yeah. And all of that is going to help you develop a clear understanding of how things really are. Yeah. It really helps studying, listening, reflecting, discussing with other people, and just trying to practice. So that's all I got to say for now, and I hope you got at least one practical thing that you can actually do to move towards enlightenment. Thank you very much.